Good evening and welcome. Tonight's video is perfect if you're getting ready for bed and would like a bedtime story. I'm going to be reading actually two different bedtime stories. One is called More Than a Little, written by M.H. Clark and illustrated by Cecile Metzger. This is a very sweet book. And the other is called Sea Dog by Astrid Shekels. It's a little more of a crazy story with a sea-going dog. And that's what we're going to start with. So I'd encourage you to lay back, dim the lights, and if you're all ready for bed, then we'll get started, okay? Alright. Sea Dog by Astrid Shekels. In a little cottage by the sea lived Walter. He came from a long line of sea dogs, brave fishermen and noble sailors, and he dreamed of becoming a real sea dog himself one day. But alas for Walter, he had talent for neither fishing nor boating, and the only thing he'd inherited from his seafaring ancestors was Aunt Fanny's old box of sea dog recipes, and so the kitchen became his domain. Every morning Walter rose early to start baking, picking a new recipe to try out. Aunt Fanny's recipes were always delicious. He then loaded his little dinghy with breads and cakes to sell at the fancy tea shop across the bay. Every night the little baker was lulled to sleep by the sound of the sea. Whenever Walter was in the village, he would linger as the old sea dogs shared news and swapped tall tales about the legendary sea creature, Big Boris. Walter wished he had a story of his own to tell, but nothing heroic or sea dog worthy ever happened to him. Then, one fateful day, Walter discovered Aunt Fanny's secret sea cake recipe. He mixed the ingredients together with care, for the instructions were tricky. And when he was finished, he had 12 tasty cakes. But the villagers detested the sea cakes. Too salty, they coughed and gagged. Walter felt so ashamed, all he could do was run away, taking his dreadful cakes with him. Walter rowed far out until he reached unfamiliar waters. Then he tossed each of the sea cakes overboard, watching them sink like stones beneath the surface until they disappeared. I thought the cakes tasted good, lamented Walter as his boat drifted. But I'm a failure, and the whole village knows it. I will never bake again. Suddenly, To Walter's alarm, the waves around the little boat grew rough and the swells got high. It seemed the cakes had not gone unnoticed after all. Too late, Walter realized that he had awakened the sea. Then goes overboard. Splash. When he opened his eyes, the little baker found himself face to face with Big Boris. "Have you been dropping cakes into our sea?" growled the huge fish. "Yes," Walter gulped in fright. "The Sea King demands to see you." Boris smacked his lips. "Grab hold of this line and don't let go. You're coming with me." And down they plunged into a world that Walter had never imagined existed. To Walter's relief, Boris made an extra large loop around a grumpy-looking sea dragon. "Dragons can cause delays," Boris explained, "and we must not keep the king waiting." Suddenly, they were surrounded by a pack of chattering merpups. Sea Dog, they greeted Walter. "The Sea King wants to see the Sea Dog. Follow us." "Merpups can cause delays too," grumbled Boris. But the merpups didn't slow them as they escorted Walter and Boris to the Sea King's castle deep down on the ocean floor. "Greetings, Sea Dog," smiled the king. "Thank you for sharing your cakes with my realm. Now please join us for our deep sea feast." With goblets of kelp juice, they dined on 9 of Walter's cakes. The sea dragon had taken the others. Then the king looked at Walter. "I haven't tasted anything this delicious since your Aunt Fanny used to bake for us. It seems you are a true sea dog at heart." When it was time to leave, the king handed Walter a special gift. "This golden hook will not catch fish, but if you ever want to visit us again, just drop it into the water and Boris will fetch you." When Walter was back on the shore by his cottage, he dried off while he stared out to sea. He was sure that he would be using his hook very soon. But first, he had some baking to do. All right, the end. So many adorable dogs in that one. All right. Next, we have More Than a Little. Beautiful book. I more than a little appreciate you and the person you are and the things that you do. You more than a little bit matter to me. Where you are, things are brighter. It's easy to see. You're a gem. You're a peach. You're a wonderful friend. But there's more to the story than that, even then. You're gooder than good, and you're kinder than kind. I need better words than I'm able to find. There isn't a giant enough dictionary to name all the brilliance and goodness you carry. There isn't an obvious way to describe all the light and the spirit you carry inside. I could say things like generous, big-hearted, and dear. I could tell you I'm endlessly glad you are here. I could say that just knowing you're part of my life makes even the rainy days feel more all right. There's a magic that's yours, and it's like nothing else. It's something you share just by being yourself. It's hard to define, but I know that it's real. It's something my head and my heart simply feel. The one thing that all of the brightest days share, I can look back and see that it's you. You were there. So I'm saying all this in the hopes that you'll know what a difference you make everywhere that you go. And that when I list out the best things in my life, I write your name down. Not just once, twice. So I guess that I'm writing this all just to say that if I could share some of what you've sent my way, then reading this makes you feel sparkling straight through, because that is exactly what you always do. Yes, this is a thank you for all that you are, the good that you do in this world, travels far. And even though all the right words don't exist, I wanted to write down and share all of this. I more than a little appreciate you. It's more like a whole heaping lot. This is true. To get it just right, I would need a whole book. Come to think of it, well, that is just what it took. Actually, a fold out. More than a little.